What happens when years of legal experience meets a heart for service? You get attorneys like Nick Shanine. For this episode of The Domino Effect, we shine a light on how pro bono attorneys bring life-changing impact to our community. Nick's career has spanned private practice, public service, and appellate law, but it's his pro bono commitment that exemplifies the power of giving back. This is The Domino Effect, where we explore how legal and social issues intersect to shape the lives of real people. I'm your host, Jessica Thomas. Pro bono work plays a powerful role in bridging the justice gap. And today, we're speaking with someone who understands that firsthand. Nick Shanine is not only a seasoned appellate attorney, he's a longtime pro bono volunteer who's helped countless individuals navigate some of the most challenging moments of their lives. Nick, thank you so much for joining us
Jessica,
today.
thank you for having me. I'm really thrilled to be here.
I'm telling you, to have a powerhouse like you sitting across from me is one of the special moments on this show. Tell those people who don't know you, what do you do? How long have you been doing it? Who's Nick Shanine?
So who is Nick Shanine? That's a question many people want to know the answer to. But I am an appellate attorney, as you've described, and I've been doing that for 30 years. I've already decided that my resume from this point forward is just going to say over 30. We're not going to specify an exact number. That's where it ends. But I'm just now there. So but people might know, well, 30 years is a lot of time, but what in the world is an appellate attorney? So appellate attorneys are the ones who get to help out after the trial attorneys have done their thing. That we all know with a trial that there's a winner, there's a loser. Loser might not be happy with the result, and they might want to challenge that result. So akin to a football game where the coach might throw that red flag out onto the field and it gets reviewed by a booth up above, there is an appeal process where you can throw that proverbial red flag, and it goes from the judge that was there at the circuit court level to a 3-judge panel at a district court somewhere else. And I am the specialist who helps to brief the case and prepare the case for the appellate court to know, was there the equivalent of visual indisputable evidence that an error occurred on the field, or will they instead do, as we hear all the time, the call stands?
Now, Nick, tell me, how did you get in to that area of law? Was it, do you love the writing? Do you love the being challenged by 3 judges pummeling you all at once? What is it?
Well, a little of all of the above on that, but it's in law school that there's a trial team, and I did that, and I enjoyed that, but there's also a different team called moot court. And that is, the trial team practices trial materials. The moot court actually practices these appellate procedures, and I enjoyed both a lot. But it was through moot court that when I got my first job, they said, hey, you did moot court. You know a little bit about these appeals. We have one appeal. Here, you do it. And I did the one, and I accidentally won. And they said, oh, you're good at them. Take all of our appeals. And so part of it was simply happenstance, that I was in the right place at the right time to be told, we can have you do appeals if you'd like to. And then part of it is there is a kind of an intellectual quality to appeals where it's kind of brainy. And if you're a nerd like me, then appeals might just be for you. So that's the rest of that story.
I love it. Now, our viewership is the Orange County community at large, and a lot of them are facing some really tough legal issues, and they reach out to legal aid quite often. Now, is that where you do a lot of your volunteer work?
It is absolutely where I do a lot of my volunteer work. And the good news for those who are listening is that the appeal part is not the part you need to worry about. It is always the front end, the litigation part that matters. And even though I am an appellate specialist, that's one of the nice things about pro bono work is that you do not need to specialize in the area. I never would have pretended that I was a specialist in family law or dependency, but 90% of my pro bono work has been in exactly those areas. That any attorney has the skill and ability to figure out what's needed to help the court in a pro bono circumstance, and that's exactly what I got to do as a young cub attorney right away, and what I've done all 30 years ever since.
Now, when you say, if we have a viewer who wants to get involved and you say like, hey, you can still do it even if that's not your area, is there support there? Are there attorneys who will kind of help you?
Absolutely, and that's one of the beautiful things about our legal aid here in Orange County, is that the Orange County Legal Aid Society is a strong, vibrant organization that will absolutely give you the support, and they'll do more than that. That when you're a first-year volunteer, you're a transactional attorney where I just do contracts and wills and deeds. I don't do litigation. That's fine. Come on. We will find the case that's right for you, where you'll have people around you that can help you with that particular case. And so because of that, absolutely, as a first-year attorney, I didn't know any of the things that were going on in there, but they made sure that there was attorneys inside of legal aid who would be able to tell me, okay, here's what that means, here's what this means. And at the end of the day, so much of it is really kind of common sense, because for me in the dependency cases that I've helped with, the mantra is what's in the best interest of the children. You don't need a law degree really to figure out what's in the best interest of the children. In fact, that law degree might get in the way. But the law degree helps you talk to the judge and helps you have the ability to take an independent look, to use the analytical skills you learned as a lawyer to give that judge that independent view of what's in the best interest of the children. And the judge is thankful to have your voice helping the system to do that.
Now, when we talk about those people in the courtroom, kind of appointed and dedicated to look out for the best interest of the child, what are those called?
Oh, the guardian ad litem's.
And now, have you done that as well?
That is the majority of my time as a pro bono attorney. I have had the opportunity to serve in a few other roles, but I'd say 90% of my legal aid time has been as a guardian ad litem.
And so for those watching, when they are, some of our viewership are the people in these cases.
Sure.
They're the ones that the police have shown up at your home. Yeah. Your kiddos are in a tough spot, and you're doing everything you can to get them back. When I meet that guardian ad litem, who am I talking to? What is their role in my case?
That's an excellent question, because oftentimes that's one of the first things I do as a guardian ad litem is I tell the mom or the dad or the relative that the children have been placed with, or the foster parent who is not a relative that the children are placed with, well, who exactly are you? And I explained to them that I am part of the judicial system, but I'm not with the Department of Children and Families. I am not with the state attorneys or the public defenders or anybody else. I'm appointed by the court for one role, and that is to advocate for what is the best interest of the name of the child or the name of the children. And when I do that, they understand, okay, so you're independent. You're not with any of these other people I'm talking with, but you're there to look out for the kid. And that is my role. That is my only role. And a clarification is necessary here, that when I say I represent the best interest of the child, there are occasional cases where the child's old enough to have their own thoughts of what they think is in their best interest. And what they think is in their best interest is normally, I want complete autonomy and I want to be able to leave this house whenever I want. And as any parent knows, that may or may not actually be in the child's best interest. So my job as a guardian ad litem is to advise the court as to what the child's best interests are in a given circumstance. And that might be reunification with mom, or it might be under no circumstances reunify with mom right now. She is not in a place where she can take care of the child, or something in between. Whatever it is that I have been able to figure out just from talking to people and looking at the materials and making my own judgments, that's what the judge wants to hear, and that's what I'm there to do.
Now, as a lawyer, you are already under so much pressure, work. I mean, the strain is just unimaginable. Why would you add on pro bono to what you're doing?
Yeah, well, especially right now, that strain, because my boss is a complete ogre. He is a fiend. Also, he is me. Right. But aside from that, it is without a doubt a blessing to get to do guardian ad litem. It's, some people that they don't have time in their schedule to exercise, but they're at the gym every dang day working out for an hour. And I am not one of those people. But the people who do that, they get a lot out of it because that's what their passion is, and they get into it, and they get more out of that hour to help fuel them for the rest of their day than that hour cost them in what they weren't doing, sitting at their desk doing more of their work. And guardian ad litem is absolutely like that for those of us who day in and day out have these cases with corporation ABC versus corporation XYZ, or maybe it's a family law case with former wife and former husband duking it out, or red car hits blue car and people are suing each other over that. Those cases are interesting, those cases are important, but these cases are different. These cases mean more to the soul because you get to directly help in the life of that kid. And you get to step out of your normal world and get into this world where you can make that difference, and it recharges you. It helps you do what you need to do for the rest of the day because you got to get over to juvenile courthouse and help that kid find a better life, help that kid get reunified with his mom, help that grandmother get the help that she needs. And you don't even have to do the hard part to do it. You just need to find out what's happening and tell the judge, I think this is important for this to happen, and you get to make a difference, and that makes it so worth whatever time it takes to get that done.
Oh, thank you so much. We'll be back with more with you, so please stay seated, stay
I'll be
with
right
us.
here.
Let's take a quick moment to thank our sponsors. We'll be right back with more from the Domino Effect.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
Welcome back. In this segment, we're taking a closer look at the human side of pro bono work, how it impacts not only clients, but attorneys themselves. Nick, thanks for coming back with us.
Jessica, glad to be here.
So now we've talked about some of your pro bono work with the Legal Aid Society. Tell me about this pro bono work with the Supreme Court. What is this? Is this like fancy pro bono that I'm not aware of? How does this work?
It is kind of sorta. It is kind of sorta. That we talked about how my specific role as an attorney is as an appellate attorney, and most of my legal aid has been not in appeals. It's been at the trial court level, specifically in front of a juvenile court, helping with those dependency matters that we just talked about. That said, there are cases that go all the way up to the Florida Supreme Court that are on appeal from an intermediate appellate court. It goes trial court, an intermediate district court, and then all the way up to the Florida Supreme Court. And occasionally, if there's a pro se person, which means fancy Latin for a person representing themselves, involved in one of those appeals, the Florida Supreme Court is interested in the issue. It's an important issue, but they also want to have it briefed in a certain way. And if it's going to be argued, they would rather an attorney who knows the appellate format argue that case. So they will ask that people volunteer to be appointed by them. And there's actually a process that goes through our Florida Bar Appellate Practice section where they make the ask to the Florida Bar Appellate Practice section. The Florida Appellate Practice section says, qualified people, please note that you're willing to do it. And on one occasion, I raised my hand. On the other occasion, I didn't even raise my hand. It's just everyone else took a step back, and I was the one standing there. But so it's been 2 times where I've been requested by the Florida Supreme Court to appear on behalf of a pro se litigant to help the court figure out what these issues are and how they want to proceed on it.
That is fancy. I'm gonna need you to have like a shirt that says, I do high level pro bono. That is so fancy.
Or instead the shirt will read, my dad went to the Florida Supreme Court and argued, and all I got was this lousy t-shirt.
I love it.
My son will be sporting one of those soon.
I love it. Now tell me, when we talk about these pro se parties, a lot of times people who are watching, they don't know how to get to the help? Is there like a legal aid website? Is there a phone call? Is there an office? How do they get the help they need?
All of the above. And when I say that, there are a lot of resources available for people to do the best that they can to represent themselves. Now, I'm going to put in a huge asterisk right here, and that is that if you can get representation, get representation. That no matter how smart you are, no matter how organized you are, no matter how many of these sites you go to, you will still be better served if you can get an attorney. And that's why the Legal Aid Society exists. Not just in Orange County, but across the state. There are a number of great organizations that do exactly that. The problem is resources are very limited. And not everyone's going to qualify for legal aid, or even if you qualify for legal aid simply can't do it all. And your case might not be the type of case that legal aid can help you with. And in those instances, then you may have no option but to represent yourself. If that is your situation and you need to represent yourself, then go to the websites for those legal aid societies or organizations, because they will often have pro se assistance handbooks or notes or tips to help guide you. Another really useful tip is, if you're here in Orange County, the Orange County Clerk of Courts has a self-help center, and it's in the name, self-help center, that the pro se individuals go there, they describe what their situation is, and if it's uncontested family law, or if it's a landlord-tenant issue, or things like that, then the clerk can both give them the forms that they need. Some will have instruction sheets, do this, do this, do this, and then you can throw that bad tenant out, whatever it is. Or they can even schedule you for a brief conversation with a real attorney who can help potentially guide you on what you need to do. So these are all tools that are available. There's many more, but start with the websites for legal aid and for perhaps the Florida Bar. That the Florida Bar Appellate Practice section has a pro se handbook for people trying to do pro se appeals. Again, not recommended. Appeals are very hard, but if you have no choice, if this is where you are, then absolutely use that handbook, and you will be far better off than without it.
Now, I think you bring up a great point. So I volunteer and have since it opened at that self-help center.
Thank you for doing that.
Of course, I love it. And, part of what I get is people who will have had an issue. They are not the happy person,
right,
but the time period has passed. And a lot of people don't know that time is important. If you are unhappy, you need to be moving quickly. What are some of those time frames that people need to be thinking of when they walk out of that courtroom, lawyers and pro se parties?
Sure. Now, there's the contractual phrase you'll see in all those back of the contracts that you don't actually read. Time is of the essence.
Yes.
Yeah, time is of the essence in the law, in everything that you do. That landlord-tenant matters, there are very specific time frames, and you must do things within a certain time. And if you don't, the judge is going to go, sorry, you've missed your chance. So it's really important that you follow those procedures. If you're in trouble, get to the self-help center now, not a month from now. I've got time. No, you don't. Get to it now. And specifically for what I do in appeals, there is a magic number. 3 is the magic number. Well, okay, appeals, it's 30. 30 is the magic number. That if there is something that happened at the trial court level, you have to appeal that within 30 days. And if you're there on day 31 with your notice of appeal, no, that it's not the judge being mean. It's that the judge doesn't have this fancy thing called jurisdiction, and so the judge can't hear it. The appellate court won't hear it. Back to my football analogy. If you want to challenge the play that just happened, you got to throw that red flag. Not later, now. If you wait until the next play goes, guess what? Played on it. You're done. There's nothing you can do about it. So, time is always of the essence.
I think there's something that we keep saying, and I'm thinking again about our viewership. We say pro bono, pro bono, pro bono. 1, please tell our viewers what that means. And 2, sometimes people will call our offices, hey, well, don't you do pro bono? And I say, I do, but I'm doing it in this manner.
Correct.
This is my law firm.
Yes.
This is different. Talk to us. What is pro bono? Why do lawyers do it? What does it mean?
Sure. Pro bono, fancy legal phrase, which essentially means for nothing. My favorite knick-knack that I've gotten from one of these conventions is a Legal Aid Society ruler, not from here, but somewhere else, a ruler, and it said on it, "Pro bono attorneys do it for free." And I'm like, okay, I've got to take me out 7 of those if you'll let me have them. And she smiled and did. So, but it's true that what we do is pro bono. When we say that word pro bono, it is for nothing. It is for no pay, no compensation. We do get payment, but that payment is in the smile of someone that you've helped or the knowledge that you've made a difference. That's payment that's going to beat the fancy envelope you might get elsewhere. Okay, they're at least equivalent. But so that is what it means to do pro bono. But what your second part of your question is really important. That if you call up an attorney and say, "Hey, I saw on your website that you did a case pro bono." Well, yes, I did. Through the Legal Aid Society. That most attorneys simply do not and cannot just take anyone and say, "Sure, I think you're worthy to have your case done for free." That instead we choose to let the Legal Aid Society do what it does. They have trained people who can screen the people to know whether their needs are real, whether their cases can be helped, what their circumstances are, and then they give it to me in an organized manner where I already know who the client is, what their need is, that they are qualified for legal aid, that their issue is something that I can help with. So I don't have to spin my wheels trying to figure that out. And I know I'm only helping the people who need it and can benefit from my help. So do I do pro bono? Yes. If you call me up, will I take your case pro bono? No. No, I cannot. I cannot. But call the Legal Aid Society. If they can take your case, they will give your case maybe to me, and then I will do your case for nothing, pro bono.
I love it. On that note, thank you so much again for all of this great information. We'll be back with more, okay?
Look forward to it.
It's clear that one attorney's efforts can create a ripple effect. We'll be right back with more of Nick's story.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
Thanks for staying with us. In our final segment, we're talking about how the legal community can step up and how anyone, no matter how busy, can find a way to give back. Nick, thanks for joining us again.
Loving being here.
Oh, so we are talking about anybody stepping up, right?
Yes.
I'm a lawyer. I'm watching this segment and I just don't know about the time commitment. We've talked about that we have help. We've talked about that there's support. We've talked about it doesn't have to be my area of law. But boy, we didn't talk about time. How much time am I putting in if I choose to step up as a pro bono attorney?
The answer is not nearly as much as you fear unless you want it to be that way. And so here's what I mean by that, is that a case requires certain activity. You contact the kid, contact the kid's mom, look through the file, figure out what's happening, and advise the judge. And that can take some time, but not that much, not that much. But once you get in to these pro bono cases and you kind of get hooked and you really want to dig in and help more, you might want to spend more time. Call DCF, have a conversation with them, call the foster care parents. Look into what is this drug that they say the mom took and what does it actually mean? What does it do? How long will it take her to wean herself off of that in a realistic thing? You start to decide on your own that you want to spend more time, and you can. But if your concern is, I just don't think I have enough time, I assure you, you do. Jump in. Don't dab your foot in the water. Just jump in. Take a case. Legal Aid's going to pick an easy case for you. And by easy, there is no such thing as a truly easy case, but a case that is manageable, has reasonable parameters, and will have the support you need. There are cases where Legal Aid is conflicted, and their attorneys cannot help that attorney. I get those cases. You, the new attorney, do not need to worry. They are never going to give you that case. They will give you the cases where they can help you, and they will. And so I don't care if you've never done any family law. I hadn't. I don't care if you're a transactional attorney, and that's the ones who don't normally litigate. They do the contracts or the wills. You can do this. Your voice is needed. Your time is needed. You are needed. Doesn't matter what you do. If you are an attorney, now is the time to use your bar license for its best advantage, for its best opportunity to make change. Volunteer, take that case, and trust me, your life won't be the same.
Now, I also think of those who are watching, and we've said appellate. You gave an amazing example. But if I am somebody watching this and I see someone who says they're board certified in this appellate law, what does that mean? What does that entail?
Sure. Board certification is a means by which the Florida Bar determines that you have an expertise in a certain area. So much like you might go to a board certified radiologist or board certified dermatologist, if those are the skills that you need in your doctor, you can choose an attorney that is board certified in family law, in estates law, in appellate practice, if that's what you need. There are plenty of really good attorneys who don't happen to have board certification, so it's not by any means something that's necessary. But if you don't know which attorney to choose and one of them has board certification, that might be something you want to look at because it means that they have spent a minimum of 5 to 10 years in that specific area. It means that they have had the recommendation of judges and their peers that they're really good at what they do, that they can prove that they've done a lot of work or trials in exactly that area, and perhaps most easy to quantify, it means that they have taken a really hard test and passed it in that specialty. That the Florida Bar exam is really hard, but I've never taken a harder test than the Florida Bar Appellate Practice Section certification exam. So I'm proud. This is a pin that says I'm board certified, and I'm proud of my board certification. So if you're looking for an attorney and they happen to have that specialty that you're looking for, consider the board certification as a serious plus.
Now, when we think of legal aid, and this is something that is a common misconception amongst the public when I am doing a lot of that volunteer work.
Sure.
Legal aid, public defenders, they often say, well, but I want a lawyer. And then I have to help them to get back to that's absolutely who's there. Help people understand, is legal aid like a law firm? Are there lawyers? Are there paralegals? How does it work?
So that's exactly right. That in Orange County specifically, the Orange County Legal Aid Society is a large, not a huge, but a large law firm of really good attorneys who happen to be willing to work for a lot less than they might make if they were in private practice, but they're willing to do it because they know that they are both doing what they love to do, and they're helping the most people that they can. But those are real attorneys. The paralegals that work at Legal Aid are real paralegals, and trust me, those attorneys will work hard for you if you are their client. Guardian ad litems in Orange County happen to also be attorneys. That's not always the case in other counties. You might have a guardian ad litem who is not an attorney, but they're someone who cares and who has been trained to assist in exactly those scenarios. So if you're seeing this and you're not in Orange County, your guardian ad litem may not be a lawyer, but they've been appointed by the court for that role and they can do it. But here in Orange County, you get the double blessing that you're not only been appointed, or the child's been appointed a guardian ad litem, but that guardian ad litem happens to be a Florida Bar licensed attorney who can specifically talk the language of the judge to help that judge know when they say this is in the best interest of the children, that it's a researched and legally grounded opinion and not just their opinion.
Now, I would say, 30 years, 3 decades, that's nothing to scoff at. How would you say for our viewership, when they're picking an attorney, who has been practicing for as long as you have, what kind of questions should they be asking, to make sure this person, maybe they're not, are you board certified? Should they ask something as simple as, do you like what you do? Do you, what kind of questions?
I love that as a hypothetical question a client could ask me, and I say that in part because I have never once been asked that. And if I were, I would say that's a client who gets it, because that might be even more than this fancy board certification, even more than 30 years of experience. If my attorney loves what they do, that's going to mean a lot more than those years of experience in that board certification. And I think that that's going to be a question that would be really hard to lie as your answer. I mean, attorneys, we should never lie, of course. but when you're selling yourself to a client, if you're so inclined, you might want to stretch here or there. Your emotions will give themselves away. That you enjoy what you do or you don't. And I do enjoy what I do. I really enjoy appeals and I enjoy appellate practice. But perhaps where I enjoy my work the most is pro bono. That's where it really comes together.
Oh, I love it. For those watching, they want to reach out to Legal Aid. Legal Aid has a website?
They absolutely have a website, and it's a nice website.
Good.
They've done a good job with that. That I know the information will be there on the screen at the end with their phone number and the website. The website's great. If you do go through the phone, that I've talked with the people who helped to do the screening. They're wonderful people. Be patient. There's a lot of people who need Legal Aid's help, but Legal Aid is there for you, and they will help.
Do they have a physical office?
They do. In downtown Orlando, really, really close to the courthouse. I envy them sometimes for that proximity to the courthouse. That would be a handy thing.
Oh, it would be so good. The traffic, dear God.
Yes.
They were like, maybe you can appeal to the Supreme Court in your fancy pro bono. Maybe you could say, can we do something about the traffic?
They have appointed me for a specific purpose. That is not it.
Not it. Well, I cannot thank you enough. I feel like our viewers have learned so much. I've learned. I appreciate you. Thank you.
It's been my absolute pleasure. Jessica, thank you for doing what you're doing. And thanks to the Orange County Bar Legal Aid Society for doing the fantastic work they've been doing for so many decades.
Absolutely. If you're inspired by Nick's story and want to learn more about how you can take a pro bono case, visit our website at legalaidocba.org. I'm your host, Jessica Thomas, and this is The Domino Effect.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
For over 60 years, the Legal Aid Society has provided legal representation to clients on issues like those discussed in today's episode. Our mission is to ensure that every member of our community, regardless of income, has access to high-quality legal support and justice. If you're facing a legal issue, don't hesitate to reach out to the Legal Aid Society of the Orange County Bar Association by calling 407-841-8310. As a nonprofit law firm, we rely on dedicated volunteers and generous donations to continue our work. To learn how you can get involved, visit legalaidocba.org. Thank you for watching The Domino Effect. And remember, perpetual goodness goes a long way. Until next time.